It began long before ink met paper, long before humans ever turned a page. Imagine a world where writing meant pressing tiny marks into wet clay, not drawing lines on a page. A world where thoughts were baked into stone, heavy, breakable, and yet immortal. Around 2500 BCE, deep in the dusty plains of ancient Syria, there rose a city unlike any other, Ebla. Its palaces gleamed under the desert sun. Its markets sang with merchants from every direction, and behind the noise of trade, deep within the royal palace, was a quiet room that no one paid much attention to. It looked ordinary. Walls of mud brick, wooden beams across the ceiling, the faint smell of oil lamps. But inside that room lay something that would change the course of human history. Thousands of clay tablets, neatly arranged on low shelves, filled the air with a dry, earthy scent. On their surfaces were wedge-shaped marks, cuneiform, the earliest form of writing mankind ever used. Each tablet told a story. Some listed trade accounts, how many jars of oil, how many goats. Some contained royal decrees, written by scribes who worked for the king. Others preserved hymns, myths, and even early dictionaries translating words between Sumerian and Eblate. This wasn't just storage. This was organization. Knowledge was being collected, categorized, preserved, intentionally. For the first time in history, humanity had created a place where information was stored, not in memory, not in oral stories, but in a physical archive. It was the first spark of what we'd later call a library. But behind this peaceful room, shadows moved. The city of Ebla stood in the crossroads of powerful empires. Sumer to the south, Akkad to the east. War was a whisper away. The scribes had no idea their quiet room of knowledge would soon face destruction and survival. Centuries would pass before anyone opened that room again. When they did, they would find something no one expected, not just clay, but a message from the very birth of civilization. When we return to that room, the air feels heavy, the lamps flicker. Outside, the sound of soldiers' boots echoes faintly through the palace corridors. The scribes write faster now, recording treaties, trade lists, even entire languages before the storm arrives. Each tablet is precious. Each one is a voice, pressed into clay by hands that tremble between duty and fear. Among the thousands of tablets, there's one that stands out, a bilingual vocabulary list. On one side, Sumerian, on the other, Eblate, the world's first dictionary, the first sign that humans had begun to bridge cultures, to translate, to understand one another through language. Knowledge here was more than power. It was peace. But peace never lasts. The palace guards tighten their grips. The king receives warnings. Across the plain, an army approaches, the forces of Sargon of Akkad, one of the first great conquerors in human history, and on a single terrible night, the sky turns red. The city burns. Flames crawl through the streets, licking the palace walls. The library, that quiet room of clay and silence, begins to heat up. One by one, the shelves collapse. Tablets fall. Fire roars. And then something strange happens. The flames that destroyed the city baked the tablets. The heat hardened them, preserved them, instead of turning them to dust. The fire that was meant to erase knowledge ended up immortalizing it. When the smoke cleared, Ebla was gone. Its name faded from memory, its kings forgotten. But beneath the ashes, inside the collapsed palace, the tablets slept, silent, buried, waiting. For nearly 4,000 years, they would remain hidden under layers of earth, until one spring day, a man with a shovel would uncover humanity's oldest memory. The year was 1974. A team of archaeologists, led by Paolo Mattiai, an Italian professor, dug through the Syrian soil near the modern town of Tel Mardik. They expected to find an ordinary Bronze Age ruin. A few pots, maybe a temple. But instead, their spades struck something strange, hard, flat, and covered in tiny lines. At first, they thought it was pottery. Then they looked closer. Thousands of small rectangular clay tablets began to emerge from the earth. Each one was covered in those ancient cuneiform signs. Wedges pressed with styluses thousands of years ago. Days turned into weeks. Excavations widened. The diggers uncovered rooms full of tablets, neatly fallen from what had once been wooden shelves. It was the library of Ebla, still exactly where it had fallen, preserved by fire, sealed by time. When scholars began to translate the tablets, they realized what they were looking at: trade records, treaties, royal edicts, prayers, hymns, and yes, word lists connecting multiple languages. This was not only the oldest library in the world, it was also the first multilingual archive in human history. The people of Ebla had recorded everything: their economy, their religion, their politics. They had built a system of writing and record-keeping sophisticated enough to manage an entire civilization. Each tablet was a voice. Each word was a heartbeat from a world that no longer existed. As Mathia's team continued their work, they realized something else. The library had been deliberately organized. The tablets weren't random. They were sorted by subject, by purpose, by function. The world's first catalog system. Ebla wasn't just another ancient city. It was the mind of humanity, preserved in clay. And yet, as the dig went deeper, they found something that shook everyone. A set of tablets describing a massive fire, a sudden invasion, and a plea to the gods to protect their knowledge. It was as if the scribes had known they were writing for the future. But what message did they leave for us? As the final tablet was lifted from the dust, the archaeologists noticed something. A symbol unlike the others. What did it mean? And who was it meant for? The final tablet lay face down, cracked but intact. When they turned it over, they found a single phrase written across the top. A prayer. Not to a god, not to a king, but to those who would come after. Whoever reads these words, it said, remember us. That single sentence bridged 4,000 years of silence. It wasn't just the voice of an ancient scribe. It was the voice of humanity itself, whispering through time. Do not forget what we built. Do not forget that we learned, we taught, we dreamed. The discovery of the Ebla Library changed everything we knew about history. Before that, we believed the world's first libraries came from Mesopotamia or Nineveh, great empires with walls of stone and armies of scribes. But here, in Ebla, centuries earlier, a smaller, humbler civilization had already done it. They had created a place to store human knowledge, long before books ever existed. And the irony? The same fire that destroyed the city saved its memory. Because clay, when burned, does not die. It hardens, it endures. The scribes of Ebla, in their quiet devotion, had unknowingly built the first time capsule in human history. Today, those tablets rest safely in museums and archives, their wedge marks still crisp, their stories still echoing. Scholars continue to read them, uncovering new details about trade, religion, and daily life from 4,500 years ago. But maybe the most powerful discovery wasn't historical at all. It was emotional. The realization that across millennia, humans have always feared the same thing: to be forgotten. So, when you hold a book or scroll through digital words, remember, you're part of that same story. The library didn't vanish. It evolved. From clay to paper, from paper to screen, from memory to eternity. And maybe, thousands of years from now, when someone digs through the ruins of our world, they'll find traces of us and read our stories with the same wonder. The first library in the world didn't just preserve knowledge. It preserved the human desire to be remembered.